lay flat. Why won't you lay flat? Oh no, fabric! Jen, stop! Jen, what are you doing? My quilt seams won't lay flat, so I'm gonna back the car over them. That'll fix them. I can help you with that. There's a better way. You can? Hi, quilty friends, welcome back. I'm sure we've all had those days where we want to take our quilt blocks out and back the car over it or have someone else run over it for us to get it to lay flat. But I hope with my video today, I'm going to give you 10 tips that will hopefully help relieve a little bit of that frustration and help you get blocks that will lay a little bit flatter and be a little less wonky. And I even have a rather unusual tool. And yes, I am chuckling because it is quite unusual. And a lot of my quilting friends, when I shared it with them, kind of chuckled as well. So I'm hoping you're going to like it and put it to good use as well. And the first tip that I'm going to share with you is the value of getting a wool pressing mat. These are really handy to have because they're grippy, and when you put your block on here, it's not going to stretch. And the other thing is it will help save time because you're actually pressing both sides, because when you put your block on here and you press it, the heat comes up from the other side on your block, and then it actually presses it on both sides then. So a wool pressing mat is really a handy thing to have to help get your seams to be less wonky and to be a little bit more flat. So number 2 is to remember to set your stitches on your quilt block. And the reason that you want to set your stitches on your quilt block is that the thread in the fabric meld together, and that helps to keep your block from going wonky. So number 3 is to remember to press and not iron. Pressing is just applying a bit of heat to your seam. So I'm going to press this one to the dark side. I'm just going to push it over, and I'm just going to hold it. You don't want to go back and forth. That's ironing. Pressing is just applying a bit of heat to your seam, and that will help keep your block from going out of shape, and it will also help your seams lay flat. So number 4 is half square triangles. And these are tricky because the fabric is on the bias now in the way that the fabric was cut. So you need to take a little bit more care when you're pressing them. So I'm going to show you how to press one. So you want to just first set your stitches, and you're just going to want to touch this corner and just let the iron do a little bit of work here. And then you're going to touch the other corner. And then you're just going to press it onto the seam and just let it sit and let the iron do its work. And that will help keep your half square triangles from going out of shape. So number 5 has to do with starch. And you can use a little bit of starch on your blocks before you start sewing them to give them a little bit of body to help keep them going out of shape. But the other thing that it's really helpful for is those seams that are kind of just not going the way that you want them to go. You just take a little bit of starch and you either spray it into a cup or to the cap or whatever type of starch you have. And then take a Q-tip or a small paintbrush, dip it in the pool of starch, and dab it and soak and paint the area where that seam is not quite laying flat, and then give it a good press, and that'll help that seam lay flat for you. So number 6 has to do with steam. And if you like to use steam on your quilt blocks, a little tip is to pin it to your ironing board before you apply the iron to it. So that will help keep it from stretching. So number 7 would be to press your seams open. A lot of quilters press to the dark side, but this would be a consideration if you've got a lot of bulk and a lot of fabric going on and seams at one intersection, would be a consideration to press your seams open. So number 8 is the tailor's clapper, and this is a really handy tool in helping to get your seams to lay flat as well. So after you've pressed your seams, you just take this and you just lay it on top of your seam while it's cooling, and it absorbs that moisture up from the fabric and helps your seam to lay flat. So number 9 is spiraling your seams, and this is really helpful when you have a few intersections of fabric coming together in a particular quilt block, such as quarter square triangles or 4-patch. And I'm going to show you how to do that. But you're going to want to take a few stitches out, and you just want to go back to the seam line. Okay. And then you're just going to do exactly what it sounds like. You're going to spiral it. So that one's going to go that way. That one's going to go that way. And you go that way. There we go. All right. So you're going to end up with this little 4 patch in the middle. So let's give this a little bit of a press. So that one's going that way. And give it a little bit of a press. And there you go. And that helps reduce the bulk here at this point of this block. So number 10 is a rather unusual tool to help get your seams to lay flat, and most particularly a bunch of seams all coming together, such as a quarter square triangle or something even more where you have a lot of points coming together and you've got a rather bulky point. And this is a very helpful tool. So I am going to show you. So first you're going to spray the spot, and then you're going to get your hammer. And then you want to make sure the end of your hammer is clean. This one's pretty clean. And you're just going to give that seam a good whack. And this is really helpful, especially if your quilting project's giving you some problems. Just give it a good whack. And then take your iron and just give it a good press. And that'll help that bulk lay flat for you. Let's see if it's flat. I don't know. Looks like it's got a few more wrinkles in it.